it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, February 22nd. Okay, so we have the moon in this Sagittarius energy up until 3:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to go void, of course, and we lock into Capricorn energy at 6:09 p.m. again Eastern Standard Time. So the transition from Sagittarius energy to Capricorn energy is always felt because we fly high in the Sag energy. It's a fire sign. We have pep in our step. We're optimistic. We're confident. We're dreaming a bigger dream. We're renewing our hopes, our wishes, our dreams, but we're kind of floaty. We're kind of projecting ourselves very far into the future. And then when we shift into that Capricorn energy, we get plucked out of the sky and brought back down to earth. So of course, that feels a little bit heavy. It feels a little bit weighted. The Capricorn energy is like, okay, great. You have a vision for the future. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty on what we can actually do in the present moment, in the here and now, to wrap up certain chapters, certain aspects, so that we can focus all of our time and energy on structuring a proper plan and strategy on how we're going to bring this new goal, vision, and dream to life. So it's very serious. There's a somberness that comes with the moon in Capricorn because, of course, Saturn rules over that Capricorn energy, and we all need a little bit of a reality check. We all have to come back down to earth. We all have to be aware of our physical body, of our physical circumstance in order to figure out, again, who and what needs to stay, needs to go. Figuring out that to-do list. The Capricorn energy is the general foreman of the zodiac. And so we got our boss hat on, and now we have to kind of do all the things that need to be done in our physical realm to support the kind of transition that we're hoping for, the pivot point that we need to get to in order to close the door on the past and again, start building towards our future. Now, interestingly enough here today, there are 6 different aspects. All 6 involve the moon. So we're up for another moon day. This is the second moon day in a row, meaning we are in Pisces season. There's a lot of reflection needed. There's a lot of introspection needed. There is a lot of emotional refinement and realignment needed. And we have more moon days coming at us here in Pisces season than we probably had in the last 2 zodiac seasons. And even more interestingly enough, today is the last day that Mars, the god of war, is going to be retrograde. He's going direct here tomorrow on the 23rd. And of course, this energy is a little bit restless, high anxiety, high anticipation, a lot of frustration and anger can definitely rise to the surface if we're not doing the work to stabilize our inner emotional realm. Now, with that jitteriness, with all of the emotions, with this quote unquote quiet day, because there is only 6 aspects, there is a heaviness, a weight to the day that we have to be aware of in order to recognize what needs to change, what needs to transform. And of course, the majority of the day until late afternoon, we have the moon in the Sagittarius energy, which is definitely going to help us focus on the future, maintain a level of optimism, maintain a level of, let's just call it, seeing the world through rose-colored glasses before essentially we shift into that Capricorn energy and the universe bitch slaps those rose-colored glasses off of our face, and we got to get focused on what actually needs to be done, what actions actually need to be acted upon in order to, again, close the door to the past, clear the space, clean the slate so that we can start actively working towards our future. So there's a lot going on. Even though it's a quote-unquote quiet day, there's a lot going on in our inner realm. We start the day with the moon in Sagittarius making a beautiful interaction with the sun in Pisces energy. Thank goodness for this, because of course, anytime that the sun and the moon are coming together, there's going to be an aha moment. There's going to be an epiphany on what we want, what we need, what we desire, and what we need to do to actually get it, to actually manifest it. Now, again, there is this hopeful, faithful type of energy that the moon in Sagittarius lends us. And of course, the sun shining a bright light in this Pisces energy. We're tapping into new ideas, new inspirations, new, let's call them fantasies, if you will. Our higher self is definitely coming online. We have an idea of what we need to do, what we need to pursue. And we also need to realize what we have to provide endings and closures to before we can start doing all of those quote unquote new things. So this particular interaction definitely going to force us in our inner realm to be imaginative and creative and be in that fantasy-like type vision, because that's how we begin to manifest. Everything starts in the inner realm. So we have to be very aware of what our dreams are, what our hopes, what our wishes are, where the downloads are coming in, what we're inspired to do, inspired to pursue. Now, the minute that we get that kind of clarity, that realization, of course, the moon is going to make a very uncomfortable, very harsh interaction with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who, of course, is in Taurus energy. So what we get here is us kind of overthinking, us kind of creating more anxiety, more worry than there needs to be. Because when you have a realization on what you need to do, what you need to pursue, what it is that your heart, your soul actually desires, then the ego kicks in, starts kind of convincing you that, guess what, you're never going to get it. You're never going to be able to achieve it. And so here we start kind of cluster effing our own head. There's a lot of energy coming in because Uranus, of course, kind of sends lightning bolts down to our central nervous system to try and break up the fears, doubts, and insecurities that are alive and well within us, clear up those energy blockages. But again, Uranus being in this Taurus energy, we know that we have to break free from some of the attachments of people, places, and things, but again, not necessarily prepared to do such things. And so there is this, I'm going to call it double down intensity on trying to keep things the same, even though part of us is doing nothing but praying for change. So again, we are creating more of an issue than there actually needs to be. Things don't get much easier with the moon in Sagittarius because, of course, the moon in Sag gets into the boxing ring, squares off, fights it out with first the North Node in Pisces, secondary to that Neptune in Pisces, because, of course, the North Node and Neptune are pretty close to each other in the zodiac wheel in this Pisces energy at this particular juncture. And so the first interaction, again, with that North Node in Pisces, a square is highlighting where it is that we're going through growing pains. The growing pain here is that the moon in Sagittarius is so hyper-focused on the future, on all of the good. We're plucking out the silver linings. We only want to kind of visualize success. We only want to visualize the happiness, the joy. The realistic part of this is that we have major doors that we need to be closing, some cases slamming and nailing shut in the Pisces energy, that again, we're wrapping up old chapters. We're wrapping up old karma. We have to surrender to the process of emotionally tapping into the darkest part of us, tapping into those old memories, tapping into that old false belief system, recognizing where it is that endings and closures are absolutely necessary before we can start building towards this great grand goal, vision, and dream. Then the square with Neptune. Again, a square is highlighting where we're going through growing pains. Neptune in this Pisces energy is very dreamy, very imaginative, very inspired, but also very confused and very delusional if we are not clear on the path that needs to be kind of walked in order for us to close those doors and then eventually open up new doors to this new goal, vision, and dream that, of course, we're very inspired to pursue. We are disconnected at this particular juncture with our higher self because the fears, the doubts, the insecurities of the ego programming is getting the best of us at this particular juncture. So anything that we were positive about, anything that we were feeling good about, inspired about, suddenly is now taking the back burner to our egoic programming that is highlighting all of the challenges, all of the obstacles, all of the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that are creeping up in our shadow selves, preventing us from feeling confident enough to do what needs to be done. So it does not feel good. And again, at 3:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon is going to go void, of course. When the moon is void, things are shaky, things are unstable, things are uncertain. While the moon is still in Sagittarius energy, but in this void, we are going to be making a positive interaction with Mr. Uranus, who of course is in this Taurus energy. This brings in a shift in our mood, in our attitude, in our inner dialogue, our inner narrative. We are seeing things through, again, those rose-colored glasses. We get to put them back on our face for just a second. The Iranian energy is shifting us to see the more positive side of, again, some of the situations and circumstances that are kind of looking doom and gloom, and putting us in a situation where we know now we have to make a dramatic change. We have to detach from those old people, places, and things that old version of self had built based off of the old false belief system that now has us trapped, has us stuck. We have to break away from what once was in order to create what we want to be. And in the midst of all that, have the attitude of gratitude for what currently is. So again, there is this shifting of our emotions, of our perspective, of our mood and our attitude in order for us to see the greater, grander picture, what is actually possible, and where it is that we need to get out of our own way, where it is that we have to be building ourselves up to taking, let's call it the proverbial sword, if you will, and cutting through the attachments to the past to set ourselves free. 6:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon is going to shift into Capricorn energy, and then nothing happens. We just sit in it, and you're going to feel that weight. You're going to feel the negative narrative try to creep in. You're going to feel that more realistic perspective that is needed. You're going to feel all of those things. You're going to be very present, very aware in your physical body, very aware and very, I'm going to call it hypersensitive to your physical realm, especially with the challenges, especially where you're feeling held back, especially with the to-do list that needs to be completed before we can start something new. 11:15 p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, the moon in Capricorn energy is going to make this beautiful interaction with Pluto, the great transformer in Aquarius energy. This is us bossing up. This is us shaking our head, getting hyper focused on what needs to be done. First of all, we need to be strengthening our inner realm. We need to be rising up in our power, in our authority, so that we have full control, not only over our emotions, but over our headspace. Because again, that negative ass narrative comes on pretty strong under the Capricorn influence, and we have to do everything that we can to avoid throwing ourselves into a dark pit. And so this particular energy, first of all, is going to reveal to us the power that we're refusing to step up into. And then when we boss up into it, then we're going to be revealed to the actions needed to be taken in the physical realm. Are we going to be taking them? No. We will here soon and eventually, but this is about understanding the inner realm, understanding of getting our heart and head on the same page, understanding the plan, the strategy that we need to be piecing together and walking through in our mind's eye to make sure that we're not missing anything, that we're not leaving any gaps, and that, yes, we are letting our heart and soul lead us in this particular pivot point juncture, but we are also taking our intellect with us. Logically, practically observing, logically, practically strategizing, so that again, we can kind of marry our intellect with our intuition and act from a place of wholeness.